How to add a single pole switch to control half of a duplex receptacle. Turn off the power. Remove the receptacle wall plate and unscrew the receptacle from the junction box. Make sure the junction box will accommodate another cable, according to the NEC, National Electrical Code, junction box calculation. Cable from the power source. Cables to another electrical outlets. This junction box contains 14-gauge wires, so in this case 14, 2 nm, non-metallic sheathed cable will be installed between the boxes. Pull the wires out of the junction box to make room for the new cable. Diagram of a duplex receptacle controlled by a switch. Sketch of a duplex receptacle controlled by a switch. This type of receptacle can be used to control the lighting in a room or to control any other device. The switch-controlled receptacle meets the requirements for lighting receptacles required in residential buildings except kitchens, laundry rooms and bathrooms as per Article 210.70, A.1. Exception number 1 of the 2023 NEC, but does not meet Article 210.52, 2, of the same NEC for receptacles required in these buildings. To meet both NEC requirements, half of the duplex receptacle must be permanently powered and the other half can be controlled by a switch. A neutral wire is not required at the switch controlling the receptacle as per Article 404.2, C.4, of 2023 NEC. Open the cable knockout in the junction box. Install a cable between this receptacle and the switch junction box. Insert the cable into the open cable knockout and secure the cable to the stud within 12 inches from the cable entry point into the junction box. Cable to the switch. Secured to a stud within 12 inches from the cable entry into the junction box. Cable must be long enough to be properly spliced. Remove the cable sheath. The cable sheath shall extend into the junction box not less than 1/4 inch. The length of free wire from the removed cable sheath must be at least 6 inches. At least 3 inches of wire must extend from the front of the junction box. Duplex receptacle connection terminals. Ground terminal, green screw. Hot terminal, gold screws. Neutral terminal, silver screws. 14 2 nm cable wires. White, neutral wire. Bare, ground wire. Black, hot wire. Ground pigtail wire, bare, connected to the ground terminal, green screw, of the receptacle. Neutral pigtail wire, white, connected to the neutral terminal, silver screw, of the receptacle. Hot pigtail wire, black, connected to the hot terminal, gold screw, of the receptacle. Unscrew the green wire nut from the connected ground wires and slide the ground wire nut down the pigtail wire to expose the twisted wires underneath the wire nut. The wire nut was slid off from the connection. Wrap the ground, bare, wire from the added cable around the pigtail wire to match the existing connection. Trim this wire if necessary, and secure the connection with the same green wire nut. Ground wires wrapped together and connection secured with the same green wire nut. Insert the connected ground wires into the junction box. Connected ground wires inserted into the junction box. Insert the spliced neutral, white wires back into the junction box. Spliced neutral wires inside the junction box. Use black electrical tape or other means to change the color of the neutral, white wire from the switch leg cable to the hot wire, as this wire will no longer be the neutral wire. White switch leg cable wire marked as hot. If necessary, trim the white wire marked as black from the switch leg cable to no shorter than 6 inches and strip the end of this wire about 1/2 inch. End of the wire stripped about 1/2 inch. Using pliers and a wire nut, splice white wire marked as black from the switch leg cable to the other hot, black, wires from the junction box, and insert the spliced wires into the junction box. Splicing with pliers ensures a better connection. Connection secured with a wire nut. Inserted into the junction box. The bridge between two parts of the duplex receptacle on the hot side connection terminal of the receptacle, which must be removed to split the duplex receptacle into two separate single receptacles. Remove the connecting bridge on the hot side of the duplex receptacle to split the duplex receptacle into two single receptacles. The connecting bridge has been removed. Trim the hot, black wire from the switch leg cable to no less than 6 inches. Strip about 1/2 inch of insulation from the end of this wire, and make a loop at the end of this wire. Loop at the end of the wire. Connect the hot wire, black, from the switch leg cable to the free screw of the duplex receptacle hot terminal. Hot wire connected. Insert the wires into the junction box. Make sure the ground wire does not touch any of the hot terminals of the receptacle. Secure the receptacle to the junction box and install the receptacle wall plate. Receptacle installation complete. Switch leg cable from the receptacle. Insert the cable into the junction box and secure it to a stud no more than 12 inches from the point where the cable enters the junction box. Cable inserted into the junction box and secured to the stud within 12 inches from entry point. Remove the cable sheath. The cable sheath shall extend into the junction box not less than 1/4 inch. Use black electrical tape or other means to change the color of the neutral, white wire from the switch leg cable to the hot wire, as this wire will no longer be neutral wire. White cable wire marked as hot. Trim wires to no shorter than 6 inches and strip the ends of the wires about 1/2 inch. The length of free wire from the removed cable sheath must be at least 6 inches. At least 3 inches of wire must extend from the front of the junction box. Wire ends stripped of insulation. Make a loop at the end of each wire. A loop is made at the end of each wire. Single pole switch, front view. Single pole switch, rear view. Ground connection terminal, green screw. Hot connection terminals, gold screws. Connect the ground, bare, wire to the ground terminal of the switch, green screw. Ground wire connected. Connect the hot wires to the hot terminals of the switch in any order. Hot wires connected to the switch. Insert the wires into the junction box. Make sure the ground wire does not touch any of the hot terminals of the switch. Secure the switch to the junction box and install the switch wall plate. Restore power. Test the receptacle. The upper part of the duplex receptacle has constant power. The lower part of the duplex receptacle is controlled by a switch. If this video is helpful, please subscribe. Comments are welcome.